Welcome to our first episode of Tackle the Board. I am Russell Reese, the Vegas line reader, joined by my co-host and NFL expert who actually finished in the top 10 last year in the DraftKings Super Contest, Chris Euksuzian. What's going on, man?
Nothing, man. I'm doing real well. Excited for the NFL season. Yeah, how about that theme song over there? It's pretty legit. Gets you jacked up for a
I
little
like that. I
football.
like that.
Even my
Hopefully it
wife
gets
was saying, I
people
say,
into
hey,
wanting to
hear this
bet.
for a second. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, what does that sound like? She says, it sounds like football. So I was like, yeah, exactly. So I
Oh, it
knew it was
definitely
good.
sounds
So
like football. I can't wait, man. So we and Chris are basically gonna give the games that we basically like. There are certain games that we're going to give you inside information, basically finding past matchups and injuries for each week to week, and kind of just helping people who to pick on the right side each week. We're going to do team totals for win totals this week, and then next week we'll start with the week one of our picks. So we're going to start. I'll start with you, Chris. Who's your first win total you have for the NFL season?
Yeah, we're just gonna be going over our favorite win totals. I'm gonna start off with like my number one favorite from the NFC West, the Arizona Cardinals. Their over under is 7 wins with the juice one minus 130 on DraftKings. Absolutely love this play. They won 5 games last year, so it's not that much of an improvement. Kenyon Drake's going to be taking most of the majority of the run since they traded Chris Johnson for DeAndre Hopkins, which was an unbelievable trade. They get one of the best wide receiver weapons in the game for Murray, and it's going to be electric on offense. And they even address defense a lot as well. They got the Simmons from Clemson, best linebacker that you can pretty much put anywhere on the field. It's kind of like that middle-sized, smaller linebacker that the NFL is using nowadays, the quicker guys that cover the tight ends, wide receivers, all that stuff. You don't see those big Levon Kirklands anymore that are clogging up the middle anymore. Those days
that
are
was a
way
great
done.
draft picked by them. Yeah, this year that was a great pick by them.
And I also like the Jordan Phillips signing from Buffalo. He had 9.5 sacks last year, and now he's going to be there on the defensive line to cause some havoc. So, looking at their schedule, not too bad. Facing the NFC East, which is all right, AFC East as well, which is the Pats are not having as many good. They're not going to be nearly as good without Brady. And then a lot of guys were just deciding not to play. I believe Hightower was one of them because of the code. So, what do you got, Russ?
I like that pick. Yeah, we could just go back and forth. You give me your pick, and then I'll give you my pick. I like the Tampa Bay Bucks over 9.5 wins. That's at minus 130. Basically, the obvious reasons they picked up Brady, Gronkowski. You got the stud receivers with Brady, Chris Godwin, who I think is going to have a huge year, similar to Edelman. He's going to be running in the slot. He's going to be getting a ton of receptions this year. Basically, the Bucks last year, they had a minus 13 in the turnover differential. Of course, Winston at quarterback was part of that. So bringing in Tom Brady, he's never thrown over 14 interceptions in one season. So I don't see that turnover differential is going to be a huge difference. That's going to be probably a 20 swing when they get they'll probably be in the +7 at least in the turnover battle. Basically, the guys have a great coaching staff. Bruce Arians at head coach, and they actually picked up Todd Bowles last year, who did a great job. He switched them to a 3-4 scheme, and they were actually second in the NFL in rushing yards allowed. So these guys are going to be solid this year. Over 9.5 wins seems like an easy bet, and I'd even take a look at picking them to actually win the Super Bowl. They're at plus 750. Actually, I would pick them to win the NFC, which is at plus 750. You can't go wrong with that. I can see them easily making the NFC Championship. If you want to hedge your bet, whoever they face in that championship, you could always hedge your bet. So that seems like a safe play to me. Just like Brett Favre switching teams. Remember, he switched to the Vikings. They made the NFC Championship. Peyton Manning, when he was older, they ended up winning the Super Bowl. So these guys know how to win. I'm not worried about age at all. So what do you got for your next one, Chris?
Well, I just want to touch up on the Tampa Bay for a second.
Definitely.
Yeah, the whole thing with the not as many turnovers with Tom Brady. That was a good point you brought up because with Jameis Winston, he might have had like 35 interceptions last year, putting his defense in
Yeah,
the worst of positions
that was
constantly.
terrible.
And their defense still played pretty well, even in horrible field position constantly. And the fact that you brought up the rushing yards, that's big because teams won't be able to run on them, which will force them to throw a lot. So that could always be good to keep them one-dimensional. That's always important. So even though Tom Brady wasn't amazing last year, I think this is a new look with Mike Evans and the rest of them. I think it's gonna be real solid. So he's gonna have some good weapons there, and then the defense is gonna be decent.
We've
too.
seen
So
what
it's a
he's
win-win.
we've seen what he's done with Randy Moss when they had that huge year. So giving him two stud receivers just seems like easy money. So all right, what do you got for the next one?
All right. So the next one I got for you, I'm going the NFC North. I'm going with the Green Bay Packers. The over/under is 8.5. The under on the 8.5 is plus 118, so you get that juice on your side. Green Bay, they went 13-3 last year, so now they're at 8.5. That's a big red flag for me for the most part. When I watched Green Bay, I noticed that their run defense was horrible beyond belief. Everybody you saw when the 49ers played them, they ran like 400 yards on them at will, and they couldn't do anything about it. You have an angry Aaron Rodgers this year after Love got drafted in the first round, not to get any help for him in the first round there. They really didn't address wide receiver that much. I believe they got Fuentes. Yeah, they signed Devin Fuentes. That was their big signing on offense. So that wasn't a good signing either. And on top of that, they lost the leading tackler the last 3 years, Blake Martinez. Your defense wasn't already good. Now you lose your leading tackler in the NFL. You can't really replace that. At under 8.5, I really like the under on 8.5.
Yeah, that's a good play. Actually, that's one of those Packers brought in a new coach. They were all excited last year, and they're definitely set for a down year this year. I could see them winning 7 to 8 games. Nothing special this year. My next one's going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm taking the under 9.5 wins at minus 120. This team's basically a mess. They're getting killed by injuries already. They lost 2 offensive linemen, Brandon Brooks and Andre Dillard. Then you got Jalen Reagor, who's hurt. Alshon Jeffrey, he's also out. These guys are going to be banged up to start the season, and then it's going to be back to the old basically excuses just like last year. They don't have receivers, and now they don't have receivers where they also don't have offensive linemen. So they picked up Darius Slay at cornerback. Everyone thinks that's going to be the savior, but I've seen the Eagles with their free agent pickups at cornerbacks, and it never works out. So I'm not trusting another cornerback coming from a bad team. I don't trust those scenarios. They also picked up Javon Hargrave. Basically, he's banged up too. Teams like this, you don't see this kind of negativity starting a season. It usually continues throughout the season. I mean, you have like holdouts like last year with Melvin Gordon. You have all these before the season things that happen, and teams, they just fall apart. They never get going, and I don't see anything happening like that for these guys. They also lost Malcolm Jenkins. I mean, he's getting older and slower, but he is one of their leaders of the defense. So losing a leader of your defense is also going to be trouble for this team. I see that the Eagles are actually at plus 150, and I'm going to go for that also for them not to make the playoffs. So I, again, only see them winning about 8 games this year. Take the Eagles plus 150 not to make the playoffs. What do you got for the next one, Chris?
Well, the final team I wanted to talk about was the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their over-under is 9 wins, and the over on that is minus 121. They won 8 games last year with no quarterback at all. Big Ben is finally back. He says his arm isn't hurt. He shaved the beard. He's ready to go. He feels good. Tomlin, I think, should have won Coach of the Year, honestly. Just to win 8 games with that dreck of offense. Yeah. With Juju Smith banged up and everything, he's going to be in a contract year this year, so he's going to play real well. He's going to get real excited. The only bright note of last year was the Minkah Fitzpatrick trade. That was huge for him. They gave up a first-round pick for him, but it's paying off. He's a lockdown corner. You can put him on an island, as they say. They were ranked 3rd defense by Football Outsiders, which is a big deal. But overall, I think they should have no problem getting the 9 wins. I wouldn't be shocked if they actually win the division. I don't have that number on top of me right now for their division, but I could definitely see them winning that because I could maybe see a little bit of regression from the Ravens. I think after that Tennessee playoff game, he kind of found a blueprint on how to, control what was going on there. And the NFL coordinators are real smart in this league, so it's kind of a, show me, learn from what I can do and everything. So that would be very completely. So those are the 3 I'm looking at. I think they're going to do pretty well. I like what you're throwing out there. I would like to kind of disagree with you on a few things there, but I like what you're talking about the most part. Maybe the Eagles will. Sure. Maybe the Eagles will. Maybe they'll do a little something, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Hey, I don't mind disagreeing because once the season starts, we're going to be going back and forth, and there are going to be games that we disagree on. We're not just going to be picking the same sides on every game. So we're sticking with our own picks, and we disagree. So, so my last one is going to be in part with the Eagles. It's actually going to be the Dallas Cowboys to win the division. I'm not taking the Cowboys over 9.5 wins. It's at -160. It's just way too much juice. And this division, you don't need a lot of wins to win this division, as we've seen in the past. Basically, I'll take just win the division, -130, much lower juice. These guys are going to be excited. They have the new coach, Mike McCarthy. These guys are going to be clicking on all cylinders on offense. They actually bolstered their front line of defensive tackles. They brought in Poe and Gerald McCoy. And what did they win, about 9 games, I think, last year? The improvement's going to be there. So it should be easy with the Eagles falling off, and the Redskins, they're a mess right now as well. Giants, they're slightly improved, but again, they're probably a 6-7 win team. This is just too easy of a division to win. So Cowboys win the division at -130.
Well, there's another team I wanted to talk about as well. The Carolina Panthers. Matt Rule is under the helm. He came out of nowhere to get hired for this team after doing really well with Baylor. And pretty much everywhere he's been pretty solid. But I want people to notice that don't be fooled by his name. Typically, the first year when he coaches, it usually isn't a really good showing for the most part. But typically, a Matt Rule first-year team does not play well. So don't be fooled by Matt Rule. We all love him here in the Philadelphia area, but usually his first year with a new team is usually not that good at all. So I know it's at 5.5, but they could be a team that you could really, fade all season and make some money on them for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's basically, in his past, he's always started slow, and he always builds his team up as they actually improve and wins every year. But again, he's just getting started, so these guys are rebuilding. They'll probably be a mess as well this year. We can count them in for being pretty bad. But I don't know if I added with the Tampa Bay Bucks. I'm seeing that they're at +160. I would take that for win the division. Not sure if I added that earlier, but definitely get that bet in as well. Next week, we'll break down every single game. Again, talking about injuries. We'll give you past results. Me and Chris have different styles, so he's going to have give you angles on how he bets the games, and I'm going to give you angles on how I bet the games, and that's how we can put our minds together and basically pick who we want to take each week and see who we disagree and agree with. You guys can follow us on Twitter at Tackle the Board. And follow Chris. Chris, you want to drop your handle on Twitter?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me at Chris Ebom on Twitter. I'm always posting things for all sports betting. I'm also featured on Fox Sports The Gambler. And I also had my good run at the Super Pool last year for DraftKings, finishing with a 69% win rate. So very good year last year. Looking to keep rolling with it this year. Going to have a lot of fun analyzing all the games for you guys and give you some leans. Even if we don't like some of the games, we're still going to break them down for you because we feel like our knowledge of betting games and watching games for a real long time. Russ and I, you've known each other since high school, so we've had a lot of good banter and talk about it. Good analyzing of sports betting, so especially with the NFL. So we're real excited. Thanks again, guys. Remember to subscribe, That's very important, so we can get the word out. No charge. It's just we're just giving out the info and pass it along.
Yep, free info. So make sure you guys bet responsibly, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Yep.